Poem starter 301. A good start is what's important. Finish later. Poem starter 1. If you have to ask the price, you can't afford it. I ask, how much does war cost? I ask again and again. Writer's house. Sometimes the grass is mowed on time and the pruning gets done at the house where the writer lives. I want to be a tightrope walker, balancing precariously high above the crowd. I want to be a tightrope walker, dashing, stopping, almost falling, slowly, then quickly, juggling, thrilling, teasing, balancing high, precariously above the crowd. But you expect that from a tightrope walker. So I'll be a poet instead. Woo! This next one is a Pantoum, which is a style of poetry thought of as French, but is actually Malaysian in origin. And it's written in a series of quatrains, with the second and fourth lines repeated as the first and third lines of succeeding stanzas. And since there won't be a test later, this one's called Altman Parts Pantoum. Parts of a Robert Altman movie, footprints made in sand, temporary evidence of touching other lives. I feel how warm it was. Footprints made in sand by people we once knew. I feel how warm it was. Fresh surprise, sparkling eyes, private joke smiles. People we once knew believed we were all that mattered. Plotting surprises, sparkling eyes, private joke smiles, merging dreamscapes. We were different. We were all that mattered, discovering truths, disappointments. Our dreams merged differently then. We needed less. We had more. Discovering many truths, disappointed, dissolving evidence of lives touching. We needed more. We had less. As parts of a Robert Altman movie.
Yeah.
Poem starter 1429. The sound of nothing wasn't heard, but the meaningless of the moment mattered. Poem starter 1501. The book of nothing contains blank pages. Which brings us to bad book news. The Book of Humility is a ripoff. On the cover, it instructs you to read the book in the dark. On the inside, there are no words. The letters and words in the Book of Narcissism are backwards. The reason for this is that you can read it in the mirror to yourself. The Book of Common Sense is a counterfeit, published by greedy jerks who realized they couldn't charge much for the original version because it was just a pamphlet. No one claims authorship of the Book of Love because it was written by a married couple who couldn't decide whose name went first. Later, they got divorced for reasons of adultery, and the book became a ward of the state of Delaware, for tax reasons. But they kept authorship credit off the books because of a government conspiracy. The Book of Conspiracy is full of holes. They blame it on bookworms, but it was moths. The Book of Light was pulled off the shelves for causing blindness. The Book of Judgments is still in litigation. The Book of Cars was recalled. The Book of Old Age removed from circulation. The Book of Disease is contagious. And the Book of Reviews is still being edited. The Book of Poetry doesn't rhyme in Spanish. The Book of Foreign Languages is unreadable because it was translated phonetically by the last surviving speaker of Waito. The Book of Perfection was misprinted. The Book of Irony isn't ironic enough to read, plus it violated copyrights for quoting a song without getting permission from Alanis Morissette. The laugh track for the audiobook version of the Book of Comedy is out of sync. No one bothered to finish the Book of Apathy. And finally, on a sad note, the last copy of the Book of Libraries was lost. Poem starter 1530. They say man has no natural predator. We do, however, have each other. Poem starter 1926. Listen closely and you'll hear the sound of my life beating. Not a self-made poem. Through the pea-soup fog of self-doubt, the loser, formerly known as You Won't Amount to Anything, steps up to the microphone and reads a muted scream, filtered into a poem about sunlight, sliced by evergreen, bristles into beams of light. The writer's fingers weren't bloodied when he typed on his keyboard with the fury of Pete Townshend thrashing his guitar, and his calm demeanor never let you even imagine a sexually abused past. It's been washed off his sleeve long ago by a downpour of wordplay, soothed by peppermint bombs of humor, redirecting rage under titanium pan, frying up doubt and lack of confidence that sticks to the Teflon coating, though the pretender at the microphone ignores the irony with every breath. More about father and son. You'll never amount to anything. Are you ever going to learn? Are you going to sleep all day? You can't go on like this. You need to go to church. You'll never amount to anything. Don't talk back to me. There are no free rides, pal. You think you have it tough? Who the hell do you think you are? You better straighten up. This is my house, my rules. You'll never amount to anything. This is no way to live your life. What the hell is the matter with you? When are you going to grow up? Turn the music down. What do you know about it, Mr. Budinsky? Not fair. Life isn't fair. You'll never amount to anything. Money doesn't grow on trees. Don't you care what people think? Stop being so selfish. Shut up and listen to me for a change. You're going to wind up in jail. You'll never amount to anything. I don't want to hear about it. You need to be more responsible, Mr. Smarty Pants, Mr. Know-It-All. Call me when you don't need anything. Goodbye. Hello? Is everything okay? Where are you? It's been too long since we've heard from you. I tried to call you, but the number was disconnected. You taking care of yourself? Well, you must be doing something right. I don't know how you do it. I'm proud of you. You know, you can tell me anything. I'm here to listen. Well, you know where we are. I love you. Not a poem about high school. This poem is certainly not about high school. That's the last thing I would write about. So this poem is not about high school. It's not. The jocks, the heads, the brains, the class clowns, the rejects, the black kids, 3. The Asians, the new kids, the babes, the cheap dates, the juvies, the retards, and the invisible ones. The rich, the poor, the upper middle class, and the ones we knew nothing about, but we heard things. The polite, the goofy, the hairy before their time, the virgins, the promiscuous, the perverted, the beautiful, the handsome, the polite, the rude, the ugly, the carpenter's daughters, the fat slobs, and the one with cancer. The people who ignored me, the people who watched my back, the people who betrayed me, the people who picked on me, the people I admired, the people I fantasized about touching, the people whose lives I wanted, the people who I felt sorry for, the people I thought about killing, slowly. The embarrassing moments, the acts of cruelty, aggression, and teenageism, in times too horrible or just far too dull to remember. This poem is certainly not one about high school. That's the last thing I would write about. So this poem is not about high school. It's not. Not a poem about the divorce. Signing the Declaration of Dependence on the yacht left in the desert, we sailed to the land of 50% off thanks to solar-powered windmills, but inventory was shrinking so fast we couldn't tie the boat to the dock. So we saw the end of the world and laughed when the bananas slipped on the human skeletons. Then she said she didn't understand me any longer. I told her to jump, but she got a lawyer, and we split everything in half. I tried to tell her getting even means you haven't gained a thing. She didn't listen. She never listened. So the boat sank, and we fell into the water. See, you're no good without me, she screamed. I didn't actually hear this. I was drowning at the time. Poem starter 1412. Discomfort is the seed of creativity. Distraction, its enemy. Dishonesty, its antithesis. Not an ordinary poem. Ordinary things, write about ordinary things, everyday things, so we take less of daily life for granted, so we take less of daily life for granted. Write of forks, spearing soggy, spongy pancakes, drowning in sticky, corny, syrupy sauce in a loud, busy restaurant where a family of 6 overwhelm a waitress who wishes she had stayed in college and gotten a real job in a high-rise office building with her own desk, anything other than being a waitress, being pleasant to 6 unruly kids and their dad. "I'm a waitress at Denny's," she told her father on the phone. It was the first time they had talked in over 2 years. Dad was right. She married too young, the no-good bum, left her in the middle of the night. She was glad she didn't have the baby, though. She was sorry it upset Dad so much, but she was glad she didn't have the baby. What would she have done with a baby on her own? She should have never dropped out of high school, ran away from home, believing in lust and love, young, wild, stupid, taking for granted they would make a decent life. He would be loyal to her, not get drunk or ever hit her or stay with her through thick and thin. Daddy was right. Her life would be too hard with someone like him. He wasn't good for her. Dad was sorry he got so angry and that he didn't send money last time she had asked. He would send her some money, pray for her, have everyone in the church pray for her, and keep her safe and happy. She would be welcome to come home, could have her old room back. It would be much better now. But she was just calling to tell him she loved him. Wasn't mad at him any longer. Don't need money, not coming home. "But you could visit, Dad. Must be lonely since Mom died. Come and visit," she said. "There's room in the apartment if you want to stay a few days. Always room for Dad." And she remembered. Puffed up clouds moving quickly across the blue sky, lying in the sun, on the sand of the beach, on the Jersey shore. Not Asbury Park, Wildwood maybe. Smell of pine tar boardwalk, smell of seagull, smell of coppertone. She dozed off to sleep. 6 kids. How could this have happened? He wasn't going to have any. Now there's 6. And he hated Denny's and soggy pancakes. And just this second, he could get up, go to his car, and drive as fast as the gas in his tank would take him, and then just disappear. Become someone else. Someone without 6 kids. Someone with dirty, greasy hands, working on cars in an old-fashioned gas station on Route 66. After work, have a few in the rundown roadhouse. No one would know he was once a system analyst, once a computer geek, once a father of 6 kids with a big house in the burbs, SUV, soccer mom, wife, 6 kids he'd take to Denny's Saturday mornings as a treat. 6 crazy, screaming, wild kids. Kids who would worry him, make him proud, disappoint him, love him, forgive him, take care of him, fill his coffee cup. She probably didn't like being a waitress, but he wondered if she knew how lucky she was being a waitress, young, a life wide open as Midwest plain, not yet stuck in a pre-made life. Yes, more coffee, more life. He'd be a better father today, better father tomorrow. 6 kids was a big responsibility, and they'd turn out to be successful and good people. They had their whole life in front of them, and they wouldn't have to be system analysts or waitresses at Denny's. His kids would be more than that. That's what he would make sure of. They'd be extraordinary, become extraordinary people, make extraordinary contributions to society, and on special occasions, for purely nostalgic reasons, they could gather together at Denny's, eat soggy pancakes, be messy, laugh too loud, like an ordinary family might do. Poem starter 257. I tell too much, yet you miss the point, so I must tell too little. Poem starter 1013. This poem looks just like the Virgin Mary, and I feel good when I hold it. I'll be selling it on eBay with a free bag of chips. Poem starter 1420. Longing for Leonard to fly off the wire, hover at end of love poem, dance the Hallelujah Waltz in Suzanne's blue raincoat by the fire at the Chelsea. Everybody knows he took Manhattan, then hid it in the Tower of Song. Poem starter 1314. In that place where dust is made, no warmth, no laughter. Foolish girl. Foolish girl runs from the quiet, where forbidden thoughts and terrible memories fill her with fear. She runs from truth. She runs from herself. She never runs toward anything. She runs, she stops, she gets in trouble. She runs, finds a safe place to rest. But kindness and compassion are weaknesses she knows how to exploit. And before the fear returns, she runs again. Recovery Girl for Daria. Recovery Girl takes her first steps on the tightrope stretched over Relapse Canyon. Loved ones held their breath for her, needing to help, knowing they must not. There's little confidence inside Recovery Girl. She must trust words from an invisible coach, ignore how naked, how utterly alone she feels, and she must fight with every thread of her soul the irresistible urge to look down. Poem starter 1426. Live your dash, said the man in the cemetery. Live your dash. This one was inspired by one of the best spoken word poets who left us way too soon on January 17th, 2013. He's also a friend, and this poem was inspired by him and is for him. Why? For Jack McCarthy. New star in the night, full of grace, you, me, together. In his memory, hold the hand of fallen brother, sister, mother, father, son, daughter, drunk, addict. Help them to their feet, look them in their eyes, tell them there is help, and though they may not believe they can be forgiven, tell them there is hope. Love exists, they are human, they matter, and most important, there is light. The darkness tells us so. The opposite of love is doubt. Our enemy is fear. Everyone falls. Everyone hurts. Everyone forgets. You only need to imagine you can dance, and the music will get louder. You only need to listen, and the words you need to hear will be there. Today you won't believe it, but your worst fears will make you laugh tomorrow. Some of you gifted with grace carry on the powerful message. All we share are these brief moments in time. If they are dark, soon comes the light. If they are bright, reach out for the hand of another. Pull them out of their shadows. Tell them the whole truth. If they are listening, this is what they need to hear. If they aren't, perhaps the next time, perhaps the next messenger will be the one to simply remind them that all of us, the addicts and the normies, all do life one day at a time. Poem starter 16. Prolific poet ponders page of plentiful space. Pen pauses. I need some water. Everybody awake still?
Yeah. That is the best drink of water I've ever recorded.
Not really a poem about the poetry voice at all. There's that poetry voice, the calm, slightly sonorous voice that is too gentle, that trails off and pauses at the end of lines, hoping the listener sees how the poem lies on paper, as if that matters to listener. This voice, it does work. It is not unlike an ohm, a kind of low-key poetry-specific quirk that says to some, ah, he has that poetry voice, the one so many poets have. It signifies he is indeed a poet. a poet who knows enough to use poetry voice. But what if poet seeks to reach beyond the ordained and confirmed poetry aficionados? The poetry voice seems too precious, too fey, and put upon to be truly authentic. People do not reduce lines of emotion into lilting, gentle tones of voice, calm and controlled. And if I'm really writing this poem to be read with official poetry voice, as if I'm taunting you, waiting before I thrust deep within you, rubbing against that part of you that makes you wet with desire. But I talk to you in this calm, measured poetry voice. Will it make you crazier, waiting for my hard, penetrating thrust? Will you listen even closer to my poem the next time, no matter what voice it may come at you with? He is on the radio. It's his fault. T.S. Eliot did not really speak like that. He spoke in that poetry voice. And everyone copied him on the radio. Poem starter 1524. This popped into my head and I was seduced into writing it down. The Hackerfocky, with apologies to Lewis Carroll. 'Twas Google and the old Yahoo did yawn and Twitter on the net. All vixens were the baby boos and our lilt crocs confet. Beware the hackerfock, my son, with pics that lie, posts that kill. Beware the cyberbull, Facebook shun, the criminy slacker will. He took his thermal mouse in hand, long search for nervous foe he scoured. Distracted he by eBay ads, YouTube cats devoured. And in his unprotected viewing, the hackerfock with tools of shame attacked with virus spewing and IM'd as it came. The thermal mouse went clickety-click, 0101, track and track. He quarantined and took its head, message boarding frack. And hast thy newbie slain hackerfock? Emoticons to you, dear boy. Oh, yang po day, vacru, bichet, they glee text in their joy. 'Twas Google and the old Yahoo did yawn and Twitter on the net. All vixens were the baby boos, and our lilt crocs confet. Big dots. Flo and Eddie walked into a bar and Dick Dale showed them a surf guitar riff, but they knew they had to get to Pomona. It was a dream they had. Look, the waitress winked, I've got some new shag carpet at my place that needs to be broken in. She was ahead of her time. I knew there was no place I would rather be. No, wait, there was one other place. I needed to get there. I could do it this time. The top was down on my car again, and I raced along Pacific Coast Highway at that perfect mid-60s point in time. You know the intersection. I pulled over at Zuma and saw the girl with the polka dot bikini. I floated across the sand to her and could not have been more smooth if I was the peanut butter on the roof of Annette Funicello's mouth. I might have been. Anyway, I became the dots for a while. Poem starter 1430. At both ends are beginnings. Not a Van Morrison tribute poem. Poets should never listen to Van Morrison when they're trying to write poetry. They shouldn't listen to Van Morrison when they're trying to write poetry. Poets shouldn't fall in love when they're trying to write, lying and crying to write. They shouldn't fall in love when they're trying to write poetry. Poets shouldn't think too much when they're trying to write, struggling to write, forcing themselves to try and write. Van Morrison, falling in love, thinking too much, trying to write poetry, they shouldn't. Couple more. This poem is for the most influential poet of the 20th century, undeniably Seuss. Oh, the places I would go and the things I could do. I will start over again. Undeniably Seuss. Oh, the places I would go and the things I could do, all the things I could think just to gaze upon your sneeches, touch your yerkles, or smell your green eggs and ham. My mouth waters when I think of your ying, or you in the gox with the yellow socks, that mop-noodled finch. Oh, what I would do with your nasm of basm if given half a chance. Nothing can prevent this obsession I have, not Bipper or Skipper or Dinwoody, Slinky, Stinky, or any of the other Fuddnuddler brothers, not the single files, Zunny and Zucks, the south-going Zacks, Thidwick the Moose, the Queen of Quincy, or even the Mayor of Whoville himself can control this zizzer, zazzer, zuzz of a wacket I feel that surpasses my longing for Little Lola Lop, or the Right Side Up Song Girls, or even Yolando Waldo Jorensen. Now don't get all Miss Fuddly-Duddle on me, or tell me I'm no better than a peeping Nurgle, or I belong with Van Vleck, the Vipper of Vip. Horton the Elephant and the Maisie Bird told me in no queet quigger or clots that my preet pelf prue was made for your Sneelock, and you can count your zummers that I won't be denied. I'll count 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish, win the butter battles and cooperate with Sam I Am, but I'll hold your varooms, caress your yurdles, and walk woombus and whoop with you down Mulberry Street if it's the very last thing I ever to willig or do.